Unrealistic expectations. What unrealistic expectations have you had heaped upon you in a relationship? Have you ever had unrealistic expectations for other people? That's today's topic on the Mars Mindset. So as soon as we get some good people in here, we can have the conversation about expectations. What are some realistic expectations? What are some unrealistic expectations? And how do we traverse expectations?
Hey, I'm driving, so
Everyone's always driving, Dr. Hope. How you feeling?
not good. Oh yeah, it was a rough one today.
Oh, for
hmm
real? Oh, they didn't meet
Those
your
those
expectations?
behaviors were behavioring today.
So today they didn't meet your expectations.
They did not. No.
In what ways did they not meet your expectations to the degree that you can tell me?
Um. Well, just I had to. I had to intervene several times today. I had to
Uh,
step out of meetings to intervene and things like that. So.
oh, well, oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So it's part of
Comes
the
with the,
job. Comes with the job.
yeah, I know the feeling comes with my job too. That's what they pay me to do.
hmm
So unrealistic or expectations and unrealistic expectations more so. Have you ever been in a relationship or has Mr. Tom ever had unrealistic expectations for you?
No, no.
Mr. Tom or nobody at all?
Well, I know not with someone having unrealistic expectations of me.
Have you ever
Uh,
had, are you saying you've had unrealistic expectations of other people?
no, I never had. Cause listen, it don't take much to I'm not picky. So as long as you do what you're supposed to do, we good, we Gucci. But never unrealistic expectations.
Hmm.
I've had expectations, but they weren't unrealistic.
Okay, so what are some of your foundational expectations then?
So, and this kind of goes back to the whole idea of, I know we had you had the other podcast of what are your boundaries, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
So very similar to what the boundaries are as far as what the expectations are in a relationship. Like, first and foremost, like if I'm getting up to go out and go to work every day, you're not just laying up, in the house, not doing, So that's the expectation. Either get out to look for a job, or get a job, or do something where you're. Oh man, a deer. I'm sorry. They must have hit that deer on the side of the road. but but yeah, that that part. Like if I'm getting up to go to work every day, if I'm getting up, to do something, and you just you need to go find a job. You need to do something.
Okay, so what if don't you think that's more so about his ability to contribute more than actually get up and get out the house though? Like, cause what if he just like owns some properties or something? He makes passive income. He's like, nah, I'm like
What?
a
That's fine. So it does come to contribute. Yeah, if he's contributing to the household,
yeah.
yeah. Or even if you're in school, like you need to do something. If
So
you
you think
either go to work or go to school, go to work or go to school.
so you're saying he has to be productive in some
Yes,
capacity,
yes, yes,
productivity. So you have an expectation of some kind of productivity.
yes.
Okay. Do you think that that okay, so let's look at productivity in relationships then, right? That's a good one.
Right.
Do you think that men are required to not be more productive, but do you think productivity is more of an expectation for men or for women?
Now, especially when it comes to the household. Like me personally, I think that the woman and the societal is expected to do more when it comes to the household than men. Like there's even an expectation, like if a woman is out working, 8 or plus hours, the expectation is that they're cooking dinner too, that they're keeping the house clean. So I think as far as the household is concerned, that is more so women that has more expectations than men.
Yeah, I agree.
When it comes to those things, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think because I think that the things that women typically have done in the household, if you were to count them one to one, they add up to more than what men do around that. Because like if you look at like my house, I mean, like I'll sweep, vacuum, and empty the dishwasher, but my wife does it way more than I do, right? But I also cut the grass and have to trim the trees, which is something that she doesn't do at all. But once I do it on a Sunday, I'm not going out there tomorrow and cutting and trimming and all of that again. But I do think that in society, men get looked down upon more. I'm not talking about in the household. I'm talking about like being productive in society.
Oh yeah.
I think there's more of an expectation on men.
Yeah.
So do you think that's a fair balance, or do you think it's unfair? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, should we expect more productivity out of men in the household and women in the world?
No.
That's a
No.
decent. I don't know either. That's why
That is a decent question.
It's a good question.
Because even in the household, like when I think of, like, not all men are like handy. There's some things I'll trust Tom to do, and some things we need to call a man, to call the people to come do this. So when it comes to those things, yeah. But when it comes to like the normal cleaning and stuff like that, I think that men it should be equal. I'll put it that way. It should be equal.
You think that the household, we'll call them household chores, right? Just for the sake of conversation. You think the household chores should be split between men and women equally, or more closer to equal than what we presently think they are?
I think so, but it depends on what the expectations are. This is the expectation thing again. Because I will say, when I get up Saturday morning, I'm the one that's like, I do most of the household chores, but it's not because my people are lazy and don't want to do it. It's just that I don't need you in my way. Like, let me do, because so when it comes to it in my household, it's not an expectation for them to get up and do. Like, even with, I still wash everybody in the house clothes except for my mother-in-law, because I don't want them touching my washing machine either. So.
Yeah, I mean, so because that's how my mom was, right? She didn't really want us doing anything, and that makes me think. So like with women, think about when you have guests coming over, right? If the house is a mess, the woman is the one who's more so going to feel embarrassed by it than the guy. And I'm just talking typically, because that's how we view society. Like, if the house is junky, they're not going to come in and look at the guy and be like, what are you doing? They're going to look at the woman.
Right. But I think
So,
the man, but I think that the man is more embarrassed, and then he'll say, like, why didn't you clean his house or something, because they're more embarrassed of what people would think. I don't know.
You talking about the guy? You talking about the guy, right?
Yeah, I think.
You see, I think I understand I think I understand what you're saying. The way I interpret that is, though, the guy is embarrassed because his wife hasn't done
Right.
right.
But and I will say, for me, because I do it most of the time, like if somebody comes over and it's not, I'm like, listen, you don't gotta, as much as I do, you know what I'm saying? So I guess I wouldn't say embarrassed. Like, I might make the comment, excuse, what it
Excuse
looks
the
like,
mess.
but I'm not embarrassed by it. because
Okay.
I
So
know on a regular basis, like it's me.
right. Okay. Well, I know my mom really didn't want us being in the way, like you said. So that created an environment where we were just pretty much out of the way because she didn't want us doing it, so we let her
Mhm.
do it and stayed out of her way. And I think as I got older, that's something that I noticed that has kind of stuck with me.
Mhm.
Where and my father was like that too in the things that he might be doing. If I felt like I wanted to help and be like, hey, go on, get out the way. So now,
Mhm.
as a man, I tend to see if I'm not if I know I'm not leading on this thing, I'm not the point man. I'm kind of like, hey, do you want me to help out or should I go stay out of your way type thing? But let me
Yeah.
ask you this: if the household chores should be more equalized than what they are, do you think that the bills and rent, I mean mortgage and all of that stuff should be more equal? And I think I know your answer to this, but do you think that should be more equal too?
Well, yeah, because like I said, it's like it's all in one pot anyway in my household. Like that's our money kind of thing. So and whatever's left over at the end of bills is still our money. So that's how I feel about that.
See, I don't think everybody. I don't think every. I think you have a
Are
minority
you?
viewpoint.
Yeah. And my situation is probably unique in that sense.
Yeah. I think you have a minority view, so to you it makes sense. I think that a lot of people still expect the man to, if not even be the breadwinner, but to handle the bills and stuff like that. And there's more of a creeping expectation to what you're saying is like pay all the bills and because she's still working, help her out
Mhm.
around the house. So it's like they're kind of arguing for one thing to be equalized more than the other.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't necessarily know if we should attach the bills to the household chores, but that's just kind of how the human mind works. Like I'm giving, I'm expecting to receive.
Mhm. And I will say, like I said, the inside of the house chores that's more so me. But I will say, like the expectations that my husband, he should be cutting the grass. He takes out the trash. You know, those minor fixes that he's able to do, that's on him. Even though I may, attempt and put my hand in it, but yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. That sounds similar to my house. Like I said, I try to make sure that I empty the dishwasher once or twice a week. I don't vacuum every week, but I try to make sure I hit it. And I always sweep. I think I just enjoy sweeping. It's kind of peaceful. I kind of like watching all the little lint and dust, and then I get it out of there. So, but I also pay the larger portion of the bills,
Right.
like overwhelming majority of the bills too. So I think it's a matter of knowing, what works between you and your partner. Tyrell, what's happening? Let me get you in before you lose service. You look a little blurry. How you feeling today?
Good in yourself, gentlemen
I'm
and lady and doc.
lady
Hey.
and oh, wait a minute. Who's the lady? She's a doc. Did you just
Sorry,
hold on? See,
He.
we live in a newer.
I start off with gentlemen, and then I was just like, no, doc's in the building. I was just like, so I can't say gentlemen because doc's in the building. So I was trying. Don't worry, I'm on like 3 hours of sleep. So I'm on 3 hours of sleep and two Red Bulls. So I'm tapped out mentally. So I just came
All,
in to
all,
watch.
Tyrell, my man, all is forgiven. I will not persecute you for misgendering me. Oh my life. I'm not down with that. It's all good. Um, Unrealistic expectations. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like your significant other's expectations for you or of you were unrealistic?
Yes, in an unhealthy relationship.
Okay, what were those unrealistic expectations, if you don't mind telling us?
Um, so for years I've been building my business and I've worked a lot of hours. And one of the unrealistic expectations for me was with this specific young lady is she didn't want me communicating with any other females at all. Like no other female could I communicate with. Now, mind you, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a small business development coach. I'm a real estate coach. Uh, I also work heavily in my church community. And so you're saying that half, if not majority, of all the people that I would be in contact with, I cannot communicate with without you having some sort of notification of what's going on.
Yeah, that is unrealistic.
The second one was like, and I don't mind this. I don't mind it because I'm also very transparent, and because I am on the road so much, I don't mind sharing my location with my significant other because God forbid something ever happens to me. One of the unrealistic expectations is that my partner wanted not only access to my calendar, but wanted access to my emails and also my location to make sure that my calendar was lining up to where I was located at.
Okay, so you were in a relationship with like a CIA agent.
Pretty much. And it was a really unhealthy relationship. This is why I said unrealistic expectations were in a bad relationship. Like now, me and my fiance, I share my location with my fiance all the time. And it's not because we have a distrust or infidelity or anything else. It's just the fact of I'm on the road all the time. I travel pretty much 80% of every day.
Dr. Hall, what you
So
think about? Oh, my
So
fault. Go ahead, Tyrell.
I was actually going to ask you, that was going to be my question was, do you feel like having your partner's location or their password to their phone, do you think that's an unrealistic expectation? I don't know why I thought about that, but I mean, I don't have a desire to have that,
me and my fiance, I'll speak for me and my fiance. We know each other's passwords, but we would have to think about it if we had each other's phones. Because we wouldn't automatically go for, oh, well, like this, that, and the other. Like, I even joke around with my fiance. Sometimes when she calls me, and like, if I have to click over real quick, I'm like, oh, my mistress calls me. And she'll laugh, and she'll be like, I would never really even process that you would be doing that. I was like, one, I appreciate the trust, but two, I also know that I know I'm not sleeping around with somebody else. I'm gonna have that space where I can literally just go and click over and not have to worry about what's going on. But to unrealistic expectation of having passwords to your partner's phone, no, go through my phone. If I will tell my fiance automatically if I feel that she's even inclining to something, I'm like, you want to see my phone? Here's my phone, unlock, go through it. And it's not like give me 5 minutes. It's no, like, here's my phone. Have fun. You want the personal one too? Here's the phone.
So let me ask you
Because
this. Oh, let me ask you this, Tyrell. Were the unrealistic expectations in that previous relationship, were they the essential downfall of the relationship? Like you just like, yo, I can't deal with this.
partially yes,
Okay.
because because it came to a point to where I couldn't, like, it became such a barrier from who I was dealing with and
Mm-hmm.
then coming home to argue. Because
Uh,
if I lost money because of the fact that or I didn't bring in enough money because I was the primary breadwinner. So if I'm losing money because of who you don't want me to talk to, then therefore I'm now stressed unnecessarily. So now when I'm home and I'm stressed about money, and you're like, oh, baby, what's wrong? I'm stressed. Why you stressed? Oh, we don't have enough money to pay XYZ, or we're cutting it close this month because you think that I'm out here sleeping with every Sally, Becky, and Henrietta, and so I'm now turning away clients to try to keep peace at home, and now I can't keep up with the bills because you still want to spend like I'm taking all these other clients. Because before you, I was taking all these clients.
So her unrealistic expectations affected your bottom line. That's the problem.
Yeah, so like you want to keep the lifestyle that we were living prior to you because when we first started, you got the dates, you got the random flowers at work, you got the random like, oh, here's an outfit, let's go out to dinner, like you got that stuff. And then after we started dating, you're like, oh well, she's pretty. Oh, do you like her? Do you want to sleep with her? Oh, why is she texting you at 7 o'clock at night? It's still in real estate time. This is still working hours.
Right.
Now
Okay.
after a certain time, there is a cutoff. But you sitting here and you're making something that it's not, which now makes me stressed because you're taking away from my livelihood. Because it's not that I decreased, I took in and now I decreased. I can
Dr.
struggle
Hawk,
by myself. I don't want to struggle in a relationship by myself.
right. I feel you. Dr. Hawk, you still there? Dr.
Yeah,
Hawk
I'm
on a
still
break.
here. I'm
Oh,
still
okay.
here.
All right, cool. What are your thoughts on what he's saying in terms of his ex being that unrealistic to a point where it affected his money?
Yeah,
Like,
that's really unrealistic. If it's affecting money, you don't need to be that much in control of somebody else's life. So I can see where where that caused the problem. I can see it. I can see it. Because I'm looking like, dang, your location and your email?
yeah, I told you she was a CIA agent. I don't know where he picked her up. He picked her up at the Pentagon.
That's controlling. That's a
if
controlling
she if
person
she
right
had if she had Pentagon benefits, we might have still been together, but she did not.
It
So
wasn't gonna it wasn't gonna work.
no,
She was gonna put tracking devices on your socks. You know what I'm saying?
there.
It wasn't gonna work. But
yeah.
my man AJ Gore said, "Are we supposed to use the same amount of money at all points in a relationship, even if we don't have it at the
Yeah.
time?" You
Okay.
said, "Yeah, Dr. Hawk.
Oh wait, repeat that question for me.
Are we supposed?"
No. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my daughter. That's my
Oh,
daughter. I
mute that.
forgot I didn't mute myself.
Yeah, just it's all good, Dr. Hawk. Appreciate you. Dr. Hawk daughter in that party. Are we supposed to use the same amount of money at all points in the relationship, even if we don't have it at the time? So I guess he's saying like, like let's say like you started with a certain amount of income because you were able to access all, male and female clients. She had an issue, and now she's expecting the same amount of financial productivity, but she doesn't may not even realize she's the reason why you can't produce financially like that.
Um,
Oh, you breaking up, bro? You breaking up?
Mm-hmm.
You have to come out and come back in again. Once you get past, hold on, let me move this out of here so I can get a better picture of Dr. Hawk for the YouTube cut. These videos go on YouTube daily around 9, 10 in the morning. So if you missed the live and you want to catch up on YouTube, you can. I had a good business call today. We might be transitioning into something a little bit bigger. So we'll see how that plays out. But for now, if you missed the live and you want to see me and Dr. Holt and Julie Bean and Dr. J and Tyrell and all of these other good people who come in and you miss it live, catch us on the YouTube. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's trying. Yeah. Let's see if we can get him back in before we continue on. We don't want to leave no.
For that question that somebody asked, yeah, situations do cause us to have to contribute different amounts at different
Hold
times.
on. Yep. Hey,
Yeah, I had to turn one phone off because one phone didn't have sound, the other one did. So I
Okay,
I'm
Dr.
good
Hawk.
now.
Go ahead, Dr. Hawk. Say something.
So I do agree that at certain times, when situations may change, that there may have to be a shift in what our contribution is. But you guys need to be set up in a certain way where it's understanding for both parties. Like when I decided to for my master's degree, now I was still teaching, so it didn't change much, but um, those things you have to agree upon. Now, when I left teaching and got into administration, there was a shift. So there was a shift in what was contributed, but we already had it set up that this is ours. This is mine. This is his. This is ours. So
Mm.
it was easier for us to accept that change.
Yeah. I mean, so you started making like a substantial amount more money than what you were making.
Yes.
Oh, that's just more money. That's just an added benefit. But we talked about that before too. Mr. Tom seemed like he a cool guy though.
He cool. He cool. Even though
Yeah.
he's on a cruise without me right now, but
He went on a cruise without you. So
well,
okay, hold on, real quick,
I
real
don't.
quick, real quick. One of the topics I got in my list of topics is like solo vacation. Are you okay with that? And to be honest, Dr. Huck, you look a little salty.
Well, I'm not salty because first of all, like this is probably his third or fourth cruise. I don't do cruises. I'm afraid. I have not. So I don't want to ruin his fun by saying because I don't like cruises, you can't go. But he did go. He went for his brother's birthday. They went on a cruise.
Oh, okay. And did you have any expectation for him to not go because you don't like cruises?
No. Well,
All
at
right.
first, because like I said, this is like the third or fourth one. So that he's went on in the past few years. At one point, I was like, "No, we ain't doing no cruise. We ain't doing no cruise." But then his siblings, I think their first one was like, "We want to do a cruise for our next." I'm like, "Well, I can't say no. You can't go with your siblings to go on a cruise."
That
But
would be
what?
unfair.
Yeah, but I'm like, y'all go have fun because me, his sister's husband, like he don't do his sister's husband doesn't do cruises either. So like we were like, y'all go ahead, rock out, have fun.
Mm, okay. So, but Tyrell, you were saying now, do you like your lady now? Is there anything at all that you feel any expectations? Well, let me ask you this: have you ever had realistic expectations for a significant other? Oh, we can't hear you. Oh, you breaking up.
I said yes when I
Tyrell,
was
Herbs and
toxic.
Tyrell, Mars and Tyrell.
I'm here.
We can't
I'm
hear
here.
you.
I can hear you.
All right. Okay, cool. So, have you ever had realistic expectations of a significant other?
Yes, when I was toxic.
Oh, really? Okay. Give me an example of one.
One of my unrealistic expectations were thinking that I could control or even try to dictate what my partner wore and how she hung out with her friends.
Okay. So, did you think that she dressed inappropriately, period, or inappropriately to be in a relationship?
It was like a borderline between the two, but I also had to remember, and this is where I had to check myself. Because I had to check myself because I was just like, she's only dressing the same way that she was dressing when you met her. So you're now trying to change who this person is, and they don't want to be changed. And so I had to recognize, first off, Tyrell, you shouldn't have got with her if you thought that how she was dressing was inappropriate for a relationship or inappropriate at all, even though that she was in a dime plus 99 when you see it in the first point. So if your mentality is going to switch because now you're in a relationship, while yes, there are certain expectations that you have from when you're single to when you're in a relationship. I do believe in that wholeheartedly. But if this is this person's personality, this is their style that carries across the board, you can't now think that just because you're in the picture that they have to automatically just abrupt their style, their comfort, and modify for you specifically when it's not even guaranteed that you're gonna stick around.
Oh, did he cut out? Did he cut out? Okay, I got you. Hey, Dr. Hook, I want your opinion on something that Tyrell just touched on. I know you may not, this may not be you per se, but you're going to speak for the ladies on this part. How do you think women feel when they may dress borderline and men are attracted to them, right? Because we're visual creatures. We see it, we like it, right? That's how we meet you. But
Mm-hmm.
then once we begin to, what's the word I'm looking for? Possess you. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but when you become
When
mine,
you're
my,
when you're spoken for now,
yeah, you're spoken for, right? So now you're spoken for. You need to change that up. What is a female's opinion on that? Because I'm sure that happens quite frequently.
it does. It does. I recall sometimes when it's been questions like, "Oh, that's what you're wearing." Oh, no, it's not. But but I do think that I think the man has to understand, or I can see the man's thinking is me seeing you like that is what got me got you to catch my attention. So at this point in a relationship, you don't need to catch another man's attention anymore. So you need to fix that. So I can see the man's mentality of that because they don't want another man looking at their woman. But then you have some men that like it. They like that their woman is desired, or they look good and other men may think. But at the same time, it's like you got to ask the question, this is what I was wearing when I met you. But I can see the answer then. Well, you weren't attached. Now you're attached.
Okay. Okay. Hey, Tyrell, mute your mic.
Oh, okay.
You got a lot of air. That sound better, Dr. Hook?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 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 So that's a good point. I think that's a good point from the guy's perspective. Is like, you're not really trying to get anyone's attention anymore, right? So why are you still dressing like that? Now, I've had conversations with a lot of women, and I've heard women say, "Oh, I don't dress like that for men.
And that's
I
what
like
I,
that for me."
that's what I was about to say. Because like some women, they dress a certain way because it makes them feel good. But at it makes them feel good. But sometimes though, women they go out because they look at me, look at me. I want you to see me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So my opinion on that is that I don't really buy into the idea that you only dress extremely nice or borderline
Mm-hmm.
just for yourself. I don't believe that, because if you did, you would just do it around the house and just be like, I'm about to run downstairs to the kitchen. Let me put on this, this little skimpy thing or this
Yeah.
tuxedo or whatever. Because it could go both ways. You're doing it because you want to be acknowledged in some capacity. But we got a question specifically for the doc. Um, Most relationships say 50-50. I say 100-100. They both should give their all, agree or disagree. That's for Dr. Hope.
I agree. I agree because if you only giving 50, he giving 50, that means you're not giving your all, your whole you. So I do agree that he needs to give 100% and she needs to give 100%. So I do agree with that.
Okay, cool. Tyrell, unmute your mic. You give us some air.
Uh, I agree. It is 100. 50-50. I take that as why aren't you? Why can't I get into the other half of you? If you are a whole person, if you are a whole being, and I'm only giving you 50%, and you are only giving me 50%, while yes, that can make the 100, so together we are 100, but no, I'm an individual. I was 100 before I met you, so I'm giving you all that I have, and I expect the same from you.
Right.
Dr. Hawk, you there? You say something?
Yeah, I said I agree with that, because that means if you only giving me 50, where that other 50% going? Like, where that at? Where that's at?
So I understand. I agree with y'all. But when the 50-50 thing came out, I don't think people interpreted it that way until we all became more enlightened and was like, wait, this doesn't make sense. I'm a whole person. It should be 100. I thought people were looking at it from like a mathematical standpoint. So if we go out to dinner and the idea is 50-50, and dinner's just an example or a metaphor for 100% being the whole, because 200% isn't the whole, 100% is the whole. People are saying, I'm expecting you to carry your weight and you're expecting me to carry my weight. But I do agree with y'all that the 100 is better, because you're still a whole entire being unto yourself. So you have your 100, their 100, and then you form Voltron, and you could actually be even stronger. So I like that.
Tying that kind of tying that back is, we can be 50-50 when it comes on the bills, because I still got my money in the bank, but we make 100% of a household.
Right.
But where my money goes, you can't account for that. So if I put 50% of my income into our house, and the other 50% of my income is whatever I want to do with it, you have no jurisdiction of what I do with that money.
You're saying
So
that's where you stand? That's how you feel?
no, but that's how I see it when I think of we're 50-50.
Oh,
We're
okay,
splitting it
okay.
down the middle. So like Dr. Hall said, what are you doing with that other 50%? Where is it? Who?
We know what Dr. Tom did with Dr. Tom when he bought him a Porsche Cayenne.
No, wait, no. But I do agree to that's again. That's why I said it's 100 and 100. It's no. You put 50 towards this bill. No, this is ours. Like our money. So 100% of mine and 100% of yours. But then it's one of those things where, yes, I'm okay with. Like I said, when it comes to his check, a certain amount comes, but he does have a separate account where it goes somewhere else. But at the same time, when we put the 100 and 100, like a lot of times he don't know what I'm putting aside. You know what I'm saying? So it is ours,
Well, okay,
100
so
and 100 all around.
okay, so and that just makes me think, like, if I got two thoughts going through my mind at the same time. That makes me think, like, if the amount of the bills are taken care of, and when I say bills, I'm talking everything, meaning expenses and investments and everything that we're going to grow together is present and accounted for. Why does it matter what I do with my excess?
It's our excess. And it doesn't matter. It's just like, okay, this is what we have left over.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, in the way in which you're explaining it, yeah, because you're saying it's all one pot, but a lot of people, or because everybody can't work with one pot and get along,
I was just like, we don't work with one pot.
right? And and it makes sense to me. Like, if you're self-aware enough to say, look, putting all our money in one pot isn't gonna work. Let's put our money into our pot, and then I'll have my pot and you have your pot. If we're doing it that way, does it matter that I go and buy the Porsche Cayenne?
See. So, go ahead, Doc.
So I'm saying, like, something like that, that's a huge expense. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a conversation that we still have to have a decision about. Like, if you go and buy a pair of sneakers, yes, that's fine. But if we talking about something, a huge expense that in the long run may impact, we have the
Also,
conversation first.
Yeah, that I agree with that one because, like, for us, we have one pot and we have the sum. We know what everything costs for us every month. We have our budget. From the both of us, we contribute the money to equal out that budget in our perspective stance. We both have separate accounts and we put money in our separate accounts. Those are our accounts. We can do whatever we want. But like Doc said, if I want to make a purchase or if she wants to make a purchase that at the end of the day can become a liability for me or become a liability for her, we need to have a conversation. Like, I'm really big on wanting to buy investment properties. Within the next few years, I want to buy an investment property a year. Our one of our things is we need to have a conversation about the numbers for this investment property to make sure that this investment property actually makes sense, even though that is coming from my money that is separate from what I give to our lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay, so okay, so I guess if you took the, because really it sounds like the issue is that the amount of money that you're getting ready to spend, one of us, the opposite person, feels like that money could be contributed to the pot,
Not
right?
necessarily.
You don't want to be like Martin and Gina with the Hashitashi.
Nah, but what I'm saying is like, okay, if everything that we have agreed upon is taken care of, right? What does it matter what happens with the excess?
Because
Because depending on
Unless
how
hold on,
you have your
hold on.
finance, oops, sorry.
Hold on. What I'm saying is, if you have an issue with what I do with the excess that doesn't affect what we have going on, and the only reason, and like Dr. Hawk just said, and it makes sense, if you're going to buy sneakers, I don't really care. If you're going to buy $150,000 car, I care. So it's obvious it's about the amount of money that could be within our pot.
so the other thing is like there is, if you think about a mortgage, like the mortgage is paid for, but at the same time, there's still a certain amount of money left on that mortgage. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if you go out and spend $150,000 on a car, like something like that, that can go towards a mortgage, so it lessens our expenses in the long run, because there are still some standing expenses out there outside of the electric bill, outside like this beast of a student loan I got.
Right.
Like, yeah, so those things we need to have a conversation. Say, now let's think about this. Let's pay off some of that other debt before we do something like that.
Okay, so I understand that way of thinking, right? So my point would be that if I have an extra pot, if in my pot I have an excess over here, and in our pot, our credits and debits, um, there's still things that could be paid off. It sounds like outside of me wanting to buy a Porsche, we should have had a conversation about the amount of excess that we had, period, to put into the pot to be able to knock these debts off. So if that's the case, we've skipped, as my homegirl Coach Jay would say, we've skipped a conversation
Mm-hmm.
that we could have or should have had, because I shouldn't be able to get the Porsche Cayenne if Dr. Hawk has a crazy amount of student loan debt.
Now that I agree with that, we all need to be debt as minimally in debt as possible. So, like for me and my fiance, we're not looking to make any major moves until her student loans are paid off.
She
And
must be above that 20,000. What is it, Dr. Hawk? 20 racks? The government that I, with no degree, am about to pay for?
What? Yeah, what is it? 20,000 that they offered, but yeah.
So it's unrealistic for my man. I'm advocating for my guy, Dr. Tom, to get his Porsche, but I didn't try it on a few shows, and I don't think it's going. I'm trying, Mr. Tom, but it ain't working.
Not yet. Not yet.
He deserve it.
I'm not saying he don't.
I know you're not.
I'm not saying he don't. But Right now, we're gonna have to look for something else, my guy.
Okay, let's change it up just a little bit, and then we'll kind of transition out of this one. Because the Porsche is an extreme example, right? Let's say same example, but he wanted a new Camry that costs like, I don't know, 20,000, 25, 30,000. I don't know how much a car costs right now, inflation. But he wanted just like a regular car. Would you make the same argument that, well, shoot, we could have took that 30?
No, I wouldn't have, because it's a reasonable monthly expense that we could talk about and take care of.
Okay, that's fair. So Tyrell, but when you get ready to start doing your investing, because Tyrell is going to buy, you said one investment property a month or one a year?
One a year.
Okay, one a year. So that's a goal of yours, to buy one new investment property a year. Do you think y'all will keep the present financial strategy that y'all have in terms of keeping the money separate, or do you think y'all will pull together like Dr. Holt and Dr. Tom?
So Christina does not want anything to do with real estate. She just wants to reap the benefits. She has made that evidently clear. She wants nothing to, she does not want to be a landlord, does not want to have to worry about someone's refrigerator dying. She wants nothing to do with it. So with that being said, we have decided that investing is going to be on my side, while I'll use those funds to take care of our family. She doesn't have to deal with it. So, like, God forbid I was to pass unexpectedly, I have it set up where she can either sell them all, or she can transition them into with the property manager, and the property management company can write her a check every month. But she physically does not want anything to do with it.
Oh, okay. I'm about to call her Dr. J. Coach J is asking: is the money in question in separate accounts, or is it in a combined account after everything is paid? So with the original hypothetical, it was in a separate account for a separate for that particular person, and that's why I posed the question in that way, because if I was using that to make the point that if everything that we have agreed upon to put into the pot is in the pot and everything is taken care of, and we still have to have a conversation about anything that I purchase, that means that what we've agreed to contribute to the pot is lesser than what we should have agreed to. Because if me buying something is an issue and you're looking at that money and saying, well, we could have been paying this, that should have been a conversation that we should have had about the numbers earlier. Or I just came about it, right? Because I could have just came about it. I don't know. Maybe I want to scratch off or something, right? Mm-hmm. But before I went and bought the Porsche, or before Dr. Tom goes and buys the Porsche, he should come talk to Dr. Hawk and say, hey, darling, I just want to scratch off for 150 racks. I was saying about buying a Porsche. What do you think? And Dr. Hawk was going to say, no.
Let's sit down. That's this. Because, like, we're in a situation, we just sold a house to use some money to invest. So we got to have a conversation what we using it for. It's like, and again, it was our first house. It was in my name, but again, that's ours because he supported with paying the mortgage, with doing this and doing that. So the money we got from that house, like, everything deserves a conversation, or it has to be a conversation, especially when you're talking about stuff like that.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. I do agree on that part, because while yes, the money that I make from that goes into a separate account and then I contribute to our joint account. Mm-hmm. I definitely think that if I'm going to make a large financial move, just in general, there has to be some sort of some sort of oh, we can't hear you.
Yeah,
no, Tyrell, you just keep going, and when we can hear Jay, we'll let her know.
Yeah. So yeah, so like, and because it still becomes a liability in our combined entity,
Mm-hmm.
because God forbid I buy that property and that property becomes a money pit, and now it is siphoning money from everything else that I'm doing, and I'm no longer able to contribute to our joint pot because of that property. We need to have an understanding on how we would handle that situation, because if that is the case, if she becomes more liable for more things because of the fact of that specific property, that's unfair for her to just be like, oh, hold on, wait. You said you owned that property for 2 years, and now out of nowhere it's now you can't afford the mortgage because it, construction went behind for 6 months. It's been sitting on the property for additional 6 months. Yeah, $200,000 in the hole, and now you done drained all the savings account from that pot, and you now need to borrow from our pot. That's a lot.
Oh, hey,
It
Coach Jay, what you?
happens.
I think you look like you ready.
I got questions.
Okay, who? First of all, who do you have questions for? I need.
I have questions for everyone.
Oh, okay.
So well, I'll make the statement. I'm a Chels knows how I am. It's conversations, right? We get into these situations because of conversation. That conversation hasn't been had. But the first question I have is in regards to when we're speaking of different accounts. So I came in a little late, so please forgive me. But when we're speaking about accounts and finances. Are we speaking of everything has been paid and now I have my own account? The rest of the money has been split between the two of us. So are we speaking of what I'm doing with my money in my account? That's in question?
Yeah. So the original hypothetical was we have a community pot to handle the bills, investment, and everything that is us, right? And then Coach J has her own pot, and then Mr. Coach J has his own pot. Now the extreme example, if I offended him, I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good.
But the extreme example, and this is kind of a running thing on the show with Dr. Hawk and Mr. Tom, because I'm trying to get Mr. Tom a Porsche. I said, if everything in the pot together is taken care of, and then Mr. Tom comes up on a good hustle or something, he got 150 racks, and he like, yo, I always wanted a Porsche. Can he go buy the Porsche? At first he said, yeah, but then Dr. J came on and said that Rod couldn't get a Porsche, and then Dr. Hawk went back and said, no, Tom can't get a Porsche either. But I said, it's a bit unfair. Like, it's his money. He's met his quota for the family pot.
So let me clarify before I start responding. So everything is paid. So Mr. Coach J saved up his money in order to buy a Porsche. Is that what we're saying? Mm-hmm. Or when you say he came up on 150, did it just come out of somewhere, or he literally saved this and then he wants to buy a Porsche?
Doesn't matter. Mr. Coach J has 150 racks of his own money that didn't come illegally.
His own money.
Of his own money. It's legit.
Doesn't affect the family pot.
It's not affecting the
family pot.
Right? Okay. But the family pot still has some other debts in it, right? But Mr. Coach J got his own rack, his own 150 to go get this Porsche Cayenne. I'm saying I can see why Dr. Hawk feels the way she feels. It makes sense. But I want Mr. Tom to go be able to get his Porsche Cayenne.
Okay. So first things first, again, this is just my perspective based on my lived experience or whatever the case is. But this is a conversation that my partner and I had. If we want to purchase something, even if it's with our own money, we have a conversation, not because we're looking for permission, but we're having a conversation because we love and respect one another in order to be able to have a common ground. So it's not a surprise when the Porsche comes up, right? And so it's not for him to say, can I? It's, hey, this is what I was looking to do. If it's his own money, he's not going to stop me from buying what I want to buy with my own money. So I have to reciprocate that, right? But it is a conversation to have a common understanding, right? And we talk about this before it happens. I think that's another thing with couples. What we do is we're not proactive in having those challenging conversations. So when the situation happens, we're trying to we become reactive, right? And so I honestly think it's just a conversation. It's mutual respect. It's love, right? So if I'm having this, I'm not asking you for permission because I'm not going to ask for permission. But we do need to be mindful that what is the ultimate goal here as well? Yes, we have our own money. We still need to have individuality in our marriage, our relationship. But at the same time, what is the goal? If the goal in marriage is to be able to become debt free and we have money in our accounts and you out buying a Porsche and we still have debt, let's talk about that, right? So let's talk about that. Not again, not to say you can't do it, but I need to understand your why behind what you're doing. So
I just want it.
that's you
It's
just
my
want it.
dream car. Always wanted
That,
it. I had money down. I just figured I'd go ahead and go get it.
and you know what? And that's okay as long as there's a conversation before that. Like I said, I'm not gonna say, and this is me, I'm not gonna say no, don't do it. But what I am gonna say is what are our priorities? Because
Right.
you're looking at this individually now, right? So
Mhm.
what are our priorities, right? And if it's this is the other thing, if the debt is just, you know, something that we can pay off monthly and it goes away in 6 months and we're on a plan or whatever the case is, and then you say you want to buy a Porsche, that's fine because we're already on track to accomplish our goal. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And again, it's conversation because we have a common understanding. But when it's a surprise out of nowhere, oh, you ain't buying the Porsche. What are we doing here? You
Well,
pull
let
up
me,
in a Porsche and there was no conversation. I'm driving. I'm taking over the Porsche. So the Porsche is going back, and we're
Mhm.
going to have a conversation about what was the thinking process behind just doing something without a conversation.
okay,
Okay.
Coach. So you just essentially said the same thing that I said, which is we should have looked at what we had all together and then decided to do it. But to play devil's advocate, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
If I know that having this conversation could end with potentiality of me not getting the Porsche, why wouldn't I just go get it? Because once I
So,
get it, I got it.
No, you
yes,
can take it back. You can take it
You
back.
can rescind a
you
legal.
got
You
3
can
days.
rescind. You
You
can
got
rescind.
72 hours. You're
Yeah,
right.
you can rescind
Doctor is right.
contract.
Yeah, I
That's
can't.
not
I
a
can't.
problem.
One who bought it. So at the end of the day, like your name ain't on this. So if I say I'm keeping it, right? I'm keeping it.
But
So,
then
and I'm just,
also keep the wraps
hold
of whatever's
on,
going
hold on,
on.
hold on. Listen to what I'm saying. I agree with y'all, right? In principle, I agree with. I'm pushing the
The other
envelope
side.
because these things happen, right?
You're right. You're right.
So
Mm-hmm.
if I say no, listen, I'm not taking my Porsche back. I don't care that we owe this, and I don't want to wait a year and a half to
Well,
get
you
it.
can go live in your Porsche. You can go live in your Porsche, bruh.
Woo!
I was just like, you gotta face that repercussion. Like that's the real thing. Is yes, you have all rights to say I'm keeping this vehicle because it's what I want all
Right.
day. Yes, you're absolutely right. But she does not have to accept the fact that you have chosen that decision. And because of that, now you have to deal with the ramifications at home. If she ain't nothing worse than a scorned woman. Ain't
Right.
nothing worse.
I understand. I understand that. That makes complete sense to me. But
Because
the
now,
point,
and I'm
real
saying
quick,
this because now, go ahead, Chels.
hey, real quick, because of that extreme response to him buying the Porsche, that could very well be the reason why he's like, well, I'm just gonna buy it anyway.
So
Y'all got deep in
Or
it.
in terms of not have why have the conversation? Because
but
if I'm not gonna get it, if I'm gonna have the conversation and potentially not get it, right? I might as well just go get it. But go ahead, Dr. Huck, what were you gonna say?
So, because now that is now you, because I'm looking to level up, and you going and making that now. Of course, it won't add to your debt if you're paying for it outright or our debt. But at the same time, my debt to income ratio is here. Now, if we could have had this conversation for us to impact our debt to income ratio to make other moves, and you make a selfish decision like that, it does make me question your, that selfishness and that integrity piece and those things. Yes.
no,
That
exactly. You're right on, and it's exactly what someone had said. It's deep. I always say this. It's not the surface. It's not the decision. It's not the actual action. It's what's behind the behavior. Why? Because the position that you're taking when you're like, I'm just gonna do it because I want to do it. Okay,
Right.
how did you get there? Because it sounds like your voice hasn't been heard. It sounds like what you have needed in the marriage, you're not getting. So this sounds like you're actually, what's the word? You're
Fellow
becoming
for help.
rebellious.
Yeah.
You're rebelling against something that you're not receiving in the relationship, because it's a partnership. My sister's here. My sister's a therapist too, so she's here, and but she said the same thing. It's true. It's a partnership, right? But there's a reason why you're acting out. There's a reason why you just want to go and do whatever it is you want to do. Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely something that is, there's a lot of deep tissue in there that you need to get to, because there's something there that is undisclosed. Because, and tell you, as men, we internalize things and we respond based off of what we have internalized. At least I'll speak for myself. I've done that. So if I make a irrational decision of that magnitude, it didn't just come out of the blue where I was just like, oh, I got $125,000 and this car's $125,000, including taxes and fees, and I'm about to just write this check and walk out with the car, and I don't care about what's at home. Something else happened for me to tune out all the ramifications that I can take part in. Something happened for me to tune that out. Because if not, when I want to go do something like that, at least for me in this current stage, I'm just like, oh, well, let me call and just check in, not for a yes you can, or not for a permission, but just for a, hey babe, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think about this? Because sometimes I can think of something and she thinks of a whole nother part of the reason why she is our helpmate, to help us do things. She's here to help us rationalize, because as men, we do not always think rationally.
You gotta go, Jay?
I gotta go. I'm so sorry. You're right on point. Continue. But thank you so much. Talk to you all later.
You have
I'll holler at you tomorrow, Jay.
Okay. All right. Bye.
We're not always thinking 100% of everything that goes into that one decision. So she's there to help us say, okay, it's not that you're wrong, but let's look at it in this light and let's see how we can make this a little bit better. Because it might not be, let's not get the Porsche. Let's not get the Porsche today.
Right. And so, right. And I agree. I don't disagree with anything y'all are saying. Right. But what I'm saying is, if I invert my position, being empathetic to the guy who wants the Porsche, even though if he were my friend, I would say, don't go buy the Porsche. I can see why he would do it. And the reason is because the reason everyone is saying is let's have a conversation is because the conversation is you're not going to get the Porsche right now. You're going to get it later, right? And I could get hit by a bus tomorrow, right? So while I wouldn't agree with him getting the Porsche, I'd be like, dog, what are you doing? Like, I know you got a mortgage. You could do a lot more better with that. But I understand your position because I know how it feels to want something or to have wanted something your whole life, to finally have the ability to get it, and then know that I could just go get it, or I could go have a conversation. And I know that when I have that conversation, I know what the logical, my helpmate, is going to say. So I could understand that position too. That's all.
You can get hit by a bus tomorrow, but you can also crash that Porsche tomorrow.
Yeah, but if it's my dream car, so like that's conservative and liberal, a conservative and liberal way of thinking, right? What I'm saying is we all have things. A lot of us have goals and dreams that we aspire, or things that we aspire to have, that we may never actually be able to be in a position to get, right? So I would empathize with someone who had put in the work to attain that thing under the rules and regulations that we had agreed upon initially, and then have to be either put on hold or not get it at all because that money is now put towards something else, right? Because truth be told, we're all, those of us who are financially in tune and intelligent are all programmed to put off the things that we want but don't necessarily need for the purpose of making the correct financial decision.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell all of us here do the best we can to make those decisions, right?
Right.
But there are people who are broke who go on vacation more than people who go to work and actually work hard and are building financial wealth and all of that. And what I'm saying is, being someone who has the ability to invert thought on almost everything, I understand that other perspective. I understand why somebody would say, I ain't talking to my wife about this because she's gonna tell me to take it back. I'm gonna roll the dice. I'll be like, dog, you stupid. But I feel you.
I can
I'm
I can
from.
guarantee that that relationship, if one of those personalities do not change to concede to the other, there's going to be a greater issue. There's going to be more problems, and it's going to go back to the statistics of why relationships fail. One person is conservative and trying to think of the future, and one person is impulsive and thinks of the right now.
Right. And like I said, it like I had this experience before, the very similar thing. So I'm trying to go back to the first time it happened, which I know now it wouldn't happen again because we dealt with this in the past. And I've mentioned before with time, I thought I said lights, but it wasn't lights. He went and got a loan to get some rims for his car
Okay.
because he felt as though if I go and get a personal loan, it's not coming from this. And like I said, back then we were in a different financial position where it was like, dude, like if you can get a loan, a 2,500 loan for some rims, like you could have got that loan for something else that needs to happen. So we've been there, but I think like Coach Jay said, had we had the conversation first, I wouldn't have been as heated as I was about it.
Right.
That
And
was the situation. I was mad. I was mad. I'm like, really? Rims? Because then too, I look at rims and I look at a car or things like that to be so materialistic, so to say, and not a necessity.
Right. And that's the point that I'm making though, is that he did it the way he did it because he knew it would cause an issue if he brought it to you in the way that you would have wanted him to. It would have delayed his gratification, right? Mm-hmm. And the point that I'm making is that while we here, right, all are making as intelligent financial decisions as we possibly can, there's something to be said about the person who acknowledges I'm not going to live forever, and this is an experience that I want, and I'm willing to not be financially smart 24/7 for the purpose of living. Mm-hmm. Right. And what I'm saying is me being someone who is not interested in being controlled, I can understand that perspective. Now I have, that my lack of desire to be controlled, I can keep that on the leash for the greater good for the most part. You understand? Because I can see my mind. Mm-hmm. But I can understand the perspective of someone who's just like, I've been working X amount of years. I'm not waiting another 2 years to get this. I got the money now. The agreements that we made have been met. And we can keep going. Let's say it was going to take us another 10 years to pay off these bills. Okay, this doesn't change our timetable. And if you have an issue, that's cool. Like, we can have the conversation. But I'm about to live and enjoy this because I've spent the last X amount of years doing the right thing, not getting what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And I can understand and I can respect that. So, real quick, my man Crumb said you also should consider that people equate having expensive things with them feeling better and of a social status. That was something else I was going to hit too, is that the things that we value aren't necessarily what other people value. Right. And we value those things aren't the same. So the things that, Tyrell may think are materialistic, Mrs. Future Tyrell may not look at as materialistic. She may look at it as fulfilling life desires, which we can all agree it's not a need, but all that we all need: food, air, water, and shelter. Mm-hmm. The desire.
That's actually really ironic. So in real estate, there's a exercise that we do with new agents to kind of scale what they want to their reality, to show them like how much work you need to put in to get what you really want.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is making a list of what you want and then quantifying it to rationalize it.
Mm-hmm.
So what you would do, like, and me and my fiance go through this exercise every so often. We just redid the exercise last night, and I was just like, "Hey, babe, like, in 5 years, if we could live in whatever house, in whatever neighborhood, in whatever state that you wanted to, describe me that house, describe me that car, describe me that whatever." And for her, it's really hard because she's just like, I just want us to be comfortable. We can live in a mansion if we're comfortable. I'm cool. We can live in a shack. We can live in a double wide trailer in North Carolina, and be sitting on $20 million and 25 acres of land. If we comfortable, I'm good. Which goes back to the point of what is important for one isn't necessarily important for the other, because no one's gonna remember what car you drove when you die,
Mm-hmm.
but your family will know how much debt you left them in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, and that's a very good point, right? But to continue to play devil's advocate, um, in that particular hypothetical, I'm not leaving you with debt. I'm leaving you with $150,000 car.
That depreciates, most
But
likely.
but most things depreciate, right? And I didn't buy it for the purpose of investment. I bought it for the purpose of enjoying it, right? Like Dr. Hook, you buy things because you enjoy them, right?
Yeah.
Tyrell, you buy things because you enjoy them, right?
Correct.
Right. And so my point is that that person who buys something that we consider to be frivolous, or we can all, even the person can agree that it's frivolous. They have a reasonable logic behind that particular decision that is outside of the scope of I'm being financially responsible. I've been financially responsible because I've contributed to the pot that we agreed to and went out and did whatever extra legal work needed to be done to get the thing that I wanted, right? So the idea that I shouldn't get it, that's just an opinion. Now, we would all disagree with that opinion, but that opinion exists in validity because everything exists on a spectrum. So there's something that Dr. Hawk would spend her money on that Mr. Tom would be like, yo, I disagree with that.
So the smart thing for a man to do in this situation, if he wants to do that, he needs to wait until he has enough money to get his wife the baby portion too. That way it won't be an argument. That's the smart thing a man could do instead of just
You know why I
You
say
got a point there, Doc. There's
because she gonna say,
the
so
power in
then,
buying it.
and
because she
then
not gonna,
instead of saying, well, she can't complain because I just did this for her. So they play the game like, so if I gotta take mine back, that means I'm gonna have to take hers back too.
so you just rope it all in together and we all
Rope
just
it all in together.
take them back.
Wait till you have enough saved up to look out for wifey too.
Doc,
That's a
thank you
good
for the tip. I know I'm taking notes.
I like that one. What if she don't want the Porsche though? She's like, I don't want no Porsche. Then what do I do?
You better throw me them racks. Something.
Oh, okay.
I would say one of the things, like, we always talk about upgrading her ring once we're just in a better place. Like we know what we want. We went with something really simple because of how she lives or how she works. It doesn't make sense for me to put a $30,000 rock on her hand and she's not gonna wear it but once a month when we decide to go out when she feels like wearing the ring. But when we looked at my wedding band, I can wear my wedding band whenever I want to. It's always gonna be on. But for me, it's nope, simple band because she has a simpler band. Now, when she upgrades, then I'm able to get the band that I want. So it's just that you get a little bit of something here, I get a little bit of something here, and so it just makes it a little bit easier.
What do they call it? Quid pro quo, whatever.
That's
Whatever.
that's what it is. This is so y'all playing politics. See, that's man. But so
Because when I sent her the ring that I wanted, she was just like, "Babe, I love the ring," but she's like, "I gotta admit, I was a little jealous that your ring looked better than mine," and I was just like, "That wasn't the intention. That's just what I wanted." And she's just like, wait until we upgrade my ring, then we can upgrade your ring, and then at that point we match. We look like we belong together. It doesn't look like you spending money that I ain't getting.
so but what does it matter what it looks? I'm just wondering, what does it matter what it looks like though? Who cares?
We work the way our relationship works is we move as one entity. If you see one of us, you see both of us. Not unfortunately, but that's just how we decide to move. Like even when it comes down to if if something happens and they ask her about the situation, if we haven't talked about it, she's just like, especially if it's dealing with both of us, like now we both have our own individual personalities and we do our own things. So for the people who are gonna actually say that, oh, what are y'all attached to the hip and y'all can't make a move without each other, that's not the case. So let
Oh,
me
so you making sure that your fly match her fly and her fly
yeah.
match her fly.
Yeah, like what, I'm not gonna be driving around in a Rolls Royce and she driving around in a Honda Civic. Like if I'm gonna drive around in the Rolls Royce, she's gonna have the equivalent of what she wants to that Rolls Royce.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just actually like making sure that we look and that we flow together and that there's like it's just to shun the very appearance of evil. It's just that mentality.
So I think, in my opinion, that's a female thing,
What do you mean?
right? I'm saying that if she had a $30,000, you had a $10 ring, you guys really wouldn't care that much what it looked like.
Oh, I told her I'll get married with the bread tie.
That's my point. That's my point is that you and her, it's only an issue because your ring was going to look more bountiful than hers, right? Typically, the woman's ring looks more bountiful than the guy's, right? Like, this
I'll
is
stay
my
out of the conversation. And just because I'm not the typical female, so I'll stay out of the conversation.
No, you don't have to stay out of the conversation because just because you say you're not the typical female, right?
I'm not the typical female because I have downgraded my ring, and I think it has a lot to do with the line of work I'm in. I've damaged a lot of, like my husband, just until we just had our 20th anniversary, this was his first ring since we got married. I've been through about 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's because I'm like, I don't desire to have a more flamboyant one to put in a box that I won't wear. Just, I just want to keep the one. So I'm like, get me this one, get me this one, get me this one, because again, it's the coming. So like I said, I'm not the typical. So
Yeah, for like Christina, it's one thing that she said, and this was our big thing, is she's just like the original stone that you get, you can change the setting as many times as you want, but that original stone can't go nowhere. And
So
that's for
yes,
her.
stone. That makes sense.
She has attachment to the stone, and so for her, it's just it didn't make sense because she's a practicing scientist. She wears gloves 90% of her workday. So it does not make sense for her to wear a ring that has a diamond on it that is going to rip through gloves and going to contaminate her work. It's better for her to have a little band that has some ice on it and call it a day. For me, it doesn't matter because for me, I'm a real estate agent. it doesn't matter what I'm going to do. I'm not going to really damage my ring. So it doesn't matter if I have a plain band, a jeweled out band, whatever. It's just my wedding ring.
But let me ask you this. Does she want the $30,000 ring?
Oh, she wants it, yes.
Okay, so
But she also knows she can't wear it, so it's going to sit in the box for the whole entire, for 90% of its life.
but is she gonna get it?
10 years.
But is she gonna get it?
Oh yeah, she'll get it.
Right. And so my point is, she doesn't need the $30,000 ring. It's frivolous, no different than the Porsche. But because it's a desire for her to wear when y'all go out once a month or whatever, she's going to get it. And that's my point, is that ring is the equivalent to the Porsche. Now you can make an argument that $30,000 and $150,000 are a large difference. But when I'm talking about the desire for something that someone else will look at and be like, why would, because you guys could take that $30,000 and put it on another, right? You could take the 30 and put it on another rental property. Go ahead, Dr. Hope.
But listen, the difference between that situation and the original one is they've had the conversation and they've agreed upon.
Right, but this, I understand that, but the simple principle behind it is that it's a frivolous thing, right? We all agree that the Porsche and the ring, well, in my opinion, the $30,000 ring is frivolous, and the $50,000 car is frivolous. Both of them are frivolous, in my opinion, based on the average person's money. Maybe it's not frivolous for Jay-Z and Beyonce. We're talking about regular people. And my point is that her desire for the ring and his desire for the Porsche, outside of the numbers, they're the same. So Tyrell, if she went out and bought the $30,000 ring, would you understand why she bought it?
Yeah, I would understand why she bought it. I'll be more so mad that she bought it. Not because of the fact that it's frivolous, but I'll be more so mad at why would you buy something that we've already talked about buying at a different time when we're in a better financial position. It's not the fact that you bought the ring because you wanted the ring. It's the fact that, one, I feel like I should have been buying you the ring anyway. So you already knew that was our conversation. Number two,
the ring example, because the guy's supposed to get it anyway, but
yeah, but it just goes back to the why would you go and buy it knowing that we had a conversation of this is how we were going to move in this space.
So if y'all didn't have the conversation and she just bought it, what would you think?
She just used her money to buy the ring that she wanted.
Thank you. Mr. Tom, I know you're on the cruise right now, but when you get that 150, hit me up. I know a guy at the Porsche dealership. Be our attorney. This has been good, y'all. Hey, Tyrell, you got anything in closing? I'm tired. I'm running out of gas.
Nope, I'm good. You guys have a great night.
Appreciate you, my brother. Dr. Hawk.
Hey.
What you got in closing for me?
I will say this. It started off with expectations, and what was it? Expectations and say it again.
Expectations, are they realistic or unrealistic?
Unrealistic expectations or realistic expectations. Again, I'm with Coach Jay. Everything deserves a conversation. And I think that is important to have those conversations of what the expectations are at the beginning. And I would say for other people, just don't accept unrealistic expectations that someone puts in front of you, because that can cause some toxicity in a relationship.
Cool. I'm going to piggyback and say that you should have the expectations conversation continually, because expectations change, people's financial situations change, people's desires change, people's wants, needs, thoughts, opinions, emotions, political perspectives all change. So people come in the comments, not today, it didn't happen today, but it happens often. They say you should know your partner. No, you should be getting to know your partner all the time, because people go through different things day in and day out. So because of that, make sure you're keeping up with your partner's expectations to the degree that you can. If you're going to go buy a Porsche, have a conversation. That way, at least if you buy it, you can say, well, at least I told you. And
Well,
then,
no, buy your partner something that they'll be equally as happy about first before you go do it, or
well, no,
have a conversation.
well, you gotta find out what it is that they want, and then save all the money, and then go on the same day and get the Porsche and the $30,000 ring, or
Yeah.
the baby, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So y'all be good, be blessed, be safe. If you need a good life coach, holla at me. Take your power back. Peace.